Rise and shine, football fans. Big Al here on this early Tuesday morning. It's November 22nd, 2022, and welcome to another edition of The Week That Was, where I run down all the statistical numbers from every game in the National Football League, and we're taking a look at week number 11. Yeah, 14 games on the schedule, and the last of the International Series games, which wrapped just a few hours ago down in Mexico City. So I'll be looking at all the statistical numbers from Week 11 in the National Football League, and then at the end, I'll update the standings, and I'll unveil my Week 12 power rankings. Now, quickly, the point spreads and point totals are courtesy of the Sports Alerts app. So with that said, let's dive right into the week that was as we recap week number 11 in the NFL. And we start, as we always do, with Thursday Night Football. This week it was the Tennessee Titans at the Green Bay Packers. The Titans came in number 13 in my Week 11 power rankings. The Packers were number 18. Last week, Green Bay snapped their 5-game losing streak by beating the Cowboys in overtime. This week, they avert back to their losing ways as the Packers lose for the 6th time in 7 games, falling 27-17 to the visiting Titans. Tennessee ran 61 offensive plays, 29 passes, and 32 runs, while Green Bay ran 58 plays, 39 passes, and just 19 runs. Total yards were 408 for the Titans, 271 for the Packers. Passing yards, 320 for Tennessee, and 215 for Green Bay. And not a lot of rushing yards either side. 88 yards for the Titans, 56 for the Packers. First downs favored the Tennessee Titans, 21-15. Tennessee now has 160 first downs through 10 games, while the Packers have 213 through 11. Both teams are pretty good on third downs. The Titans were 7 of 13 for 53.8%, and for the season, 44 for 123. The Packers were 7 for 14 on third down, which is 50%, and on the season, 5 for 133. On fourth down, the Titans were 1 for 2 for 50%, and for the season, 4 for 7, while the Packers went 0 for 2 on fourth down. They are now 4 for 18 on the year. Tennessee had just 2 penalties for 20 yards. They now have 64 for 512. Green Bay has 5 penalties for 40 yards. This gives them 67 for 507. Time of possession favors Tennessee, 32 minutes and 28 seconds to 27 minutes and 32 seconds. Defensively, Tennessee recorded 44 tackles, 23 solo tackles. Their respective totals are 461 and 230. They had 1 sack on Aaron Rodgers in the game. That's 30 on the season. 1 fumble forced in the game. That's their 9th of the season. And 3 passes defended, giving them 42. They stay with 9 interceptions and 1 touchdown after not recording any on Thursday. As for the Packers, 46 tackles, 12 solo. Totals are 470 and 219. They sacked Ryan Tannehill 3 times, giving them 22 sacks on the season. No fumbles in the game. They stay at 5. 1 pass defense gives them 35. They did have an interception in this game. That's their 8th of the season to go along with a defensive touchdown. Closing line in this game was Green Bay -3, and the over-under was 40.5. I picked the Titans to win this game 24-20 and to cover as the road underdog at +3, which they did so, winning by 10. So that makes me 1-0 straight up this week and 1-0 against the spread. Overall, the Tennessee Titans with the win goes to 7-3, while the Green Bay Packers, again, 6 losses in 7 games, they fall to 4-7, and they are in big trouble in terms of the playoff picture in the NFC. Now to the Sunday schedule. Starting off with the Carolina Panthers at the Baltimore Ravens. The Panthers came in 3-7 and ranked number 29 in my Week 11 power rankings. The Ravens came in with a 6-3 record, and they were sitting at number 8. And this was a surprisingly low-scoring game, as the Ravens end up winning 13-3. You probably expected more points in this game, but that wasn't the case. The Panthers, I should say, ran just 50 offensive plays, 33 passes, and 17 runs. The Ravens ran 63 plays, 33 passes, and 30 runs. Baltimore outgained Carolina 308-205. Both teams had 33 pass plays. The Panthers had 169 yards on their 33 passes. The Ravens had 193 on their 33 passes. The Ravens had 115 yards rushing versus the Panthers' 36. First downs also favored Baltimore. The Ravens had 19 to the Panthers' 13. Baltimore now has 207 first downs through 10 games. The Panthers have 160 through 11. Carolina was just 3 for 12 on third down for 25%, while the Ravens were 6 for 15 for 40%. For the season, the Panthers are 37 of 132 through 11 games. That's 28%. Very bad. The Ravens are now 56 of 126, which is 44.4%. The Panthers had the only fourth down play in the game, and it was unsuccessful. So for the season, they're sitting at 50%, 7 of 14. The Ravens stay at 4 for 9, and there were a lot of penalties in this game on both sides. Carolina had 9 penalties for 66 yards. They now have 69 penalties on the season for 607. The Ravens had 10 for 93 yards. This gives them 58 for 517. Time of possession was 33 minutes and 14 seconds for the Ravens, 26 minutes and 46 seconds for the Panthers. On the defensive side of the ball, the Carolina Panthers had 51 tackles and 32 solo. Respective totals are 500 and 203. They sacked Lamar Jackson 3 times, which gives them 22 sacks on the season. No fumbles in the game, that's 5 still. 1 pass defensed in the game, that's 38. They had an interception in this one, which gives them now 8 on the season with 3 defensive touchdowns. The Ravens defense had 40 tackles, 25 solo tackles. Totals are 418 and 242. They sacked Baker Mayfield 4 times. So now Baltimore's defense has 1 tackles. They forced their 10th fumble of the season. They had 4 passes defensed, which is 49. And they added 2 interceptions in this game. They now have 11 on the season. Closing line was Baltimore minus 13, and the over-under was 41.5. I took Baltimore to win straight up 31-21, but I took Carolina to cover that 13-point spread. They only lose by 10. So that's another win, both straight up and against the spread. I'm 2-0 both ways. Moving on to the 3-7 Chicago Bears at the 4-6 Atlanta Falcons. Bears enter Week 11 ranked 31st in my power rankings. The Falcons for number 20. And this was a bit of a high-scoring game as the Falcons win this one 27-24. The Bears ran 67. Make that 62 offensive plays, only 21 passes to 41 runs. Yes, this Chicago Bears offense loves to run the football. The Atlanta Falcons ran 53 plays, 20 passes, and 33 runs. And they too love to run the football. Total yards were nearly even, 288 for Chicago, 280 for Atlanta. Passing yards were pretty close too, 131 for the Falcons and 128 for the Bears. Rushing yards were a slight advantage to the Chicago Bears, 160-149. First downs also favored Chicago, 20-18. This gives the Bears 201 through 11 games and the Falcons 214 through 11 games. The Bears were very good on third down, 9 for 16 for 56.3% for the season. They're 73-131. Atlanta, not good on third down, 2 for 9, 22.2% for the season. They are 50-120. The Falcons had the lone fourth down play in this game, which they converted. They are now 3 of 6 on the year, while the Bears remain 6 for 15. Chicago had 7 penalties for 56 yards. This gives them 61 for 567. The Falcons had just 2 penalties for 13 yards. That gives them 45 on the year for 360. Time of possession favors the visitors. 35 minutes and 10 seconds for the Bears, 24 minutes and 50 seconds for the Falcons. This puts Chicago in ball hawk territory. If you're new to my channel, a ball hawk is a team that possesses the ball in a football game for at least 35 minutes, whether they win or lose. Now to the defenses. Chicago registered 42 tackles, 24 solo. Totals are now 406 and 236. They did not have a sack in this game, so their total remains at 15. They did force a couple fumbles. They now have 10 forced fumbles on the season. 1 pass defensed in the game. That's their 34th. And they remain with 9 interceptions. They did not record an INT or a touchdown. The Falcons defense had 51 tackles, 28 solo. Totals are 477 and 163. They would sack Josh Fields 4 times, which gives the Falcons 16 sacks on the season. No fumbles in the game, so they stay at 5. They had 4 passes defense in the game. That gives them 50. They added another interception, their 9th of the season, to go along with a defensive score in 2022. Closing line in this game was Atlanta -2, and the over-under was 48. I picked the Bears to win 30-27 and to cover the 3 points as the visiting underdog. I lost both picks. So I'm now 2-1, both straight up and ATS. Our next game is the Cleveland Browns and the Buffalo Bill. Now, if you joined me on Friday morning, I have a video up that talked about this game that ended up being moved out of Buffalo and into Ford Field in Detroit because of a major snowstorm that dumped over 6 feet of snow in the Buffalo metro area. Well, Bills Mafia invaded Ford Field, and the Bills ended up winning this one 31-23. Cleveland ran 67 offensive plays, 41 passes, 26 runs. Buffalo 6 offensive plays, 27 passes, and 33 runs. Total yards were 396 for the Browns and 357 for the Bills. Passing yards were a huge advantage to Cleveland, 316 to 186. And rush yards, that favored Buffalo at more than a 2-1 clip. 171 rushing yards for the Bills to 80 for the Browns, a team that prides themselves on running the ball. Cleveland had 27 first downs, Buffalo's 22. And they're pretty close in total first downs through 10 games. 228 for the Browns, 236 for the Bills. Both teams kind of struggled on third down, 4 of 11 for the Browns at 36.4%. They are now 54 for 132. Buffalo, 3 of 11 on third downs for 27.3%. And this has been one of the top third down offenses in football. They're back at 50% now, 58 of 116. The Browns attempted 2 fourth down plays, converted 1. They're now 13 of 23 on the season. Bills remain at 6 for 12 on fourth down, which is also 50%, just like their third down conversion rate. All right, Cleveland had 6 penalties for 42 yards. They now have 63 for 507. Buffalo had 8 penalties for 89 yards. This gives them 58 flags for 448. Time of possession favored the Browns, 31 minutes and 22 seconds versus 28 minutes and 38 seconds for the Bills. On defense, the Browns recorded 44 tackles, 16 solo tackles. Totals are now 409 and 208. They sacked Josh Allen twice. This gives them 22. No fumbles forced by the Browns. They stay at 7 in that category. No passes defense either. They stay at 41 in that category. And they didn't have an interception either, so they remain with 3 picks. The Buffalo Bills defense was one tackle short of Cleveland. They had 43 tackles, but had the same amount of solo tackles as the Browns, 16. Totals are down 438 and 207. They would sack Jacoby Brissett once. That's their 28th sack of the season. Buffalo's defense did not force a fumble either. They stay at 2, which is the fewest of any team in football. They have 5 passes defense, which gives them 57, which right now would put them second in the league in that category. Only Jacksonville have more. And no interceptions or touchdowns, so they stay with their 13 INTs and their 1 defensive touchdown. By the way, the 13 INTs is still tied for the league lead. Closing line in this game was Buffalo minus 7.5, and the over-under was 50.5. I picked the Bills to win 31-20 and to cover these 7.5 points. And they won by 8, so they barely got that covered. So now 3-1, both straight up and against the spread. All right, the Bills were ranked number 5 in my Week 11 power rankings, while the Browns near the bottom at number 27. Our next game had the Detroit Lions visiting the New York Football Giants. Detroit came in ranked number 23 in my Week 11 power rankings. The Giants were number 7. Well, Detroit's ground attack was what really won this game, as the Lions are victorious 31-18. The Lions ran 63 offensive plays, 26 passes, and 37 runs. The Giants ran 70 plays, 44 passes, and 26 runs. Total yards were 413 to 325, advantage New York. Passing yards were 324 to 165, also in favor of the Giants. But again, it was the Lions' ground game that won them this game. 160 rush yards for Detroit versus 89 for New York. And this was a team that averaged 165 rushing yards per game entering Sunday. First downs in favor of the Giants, 25-23. Giants now have 207 through 10 games. The Lions just a few more at 214. Both teams had the same amount of third down attempts. They each had 13. The Lions had one more completion, though, or conversion. The Lions were 6 of 13 on third down for 46.2%. On the year, they're 48 of 118. New York was 5 for 13 on third down for 38.5%. They're now 54 for. The Giants attempted 3 fourth down plays, converted 2 of them, putting them 4 for 9 on the season. So yeah, they only had 2 fourth down conversions entering this game. They had 2 on Sunday. The Lions didn't attempt a fourth down play. They stayed 10 of 23. Detroit had 5 penalties for 45 yards, now 58 total for 41. New York has 8 penalties for 63, 67 on the season for 514. Lions won the time of possession battle in this game, 31 minutes, 48 seconds versus 28 minutes and 12 seconds. The Lions defense records 52 tackles, 34 solo. Totals are now 484 and 279. They sacked Daniel Jones twice, giving them 17 sacks on the season. 1 forced fumble in the game. That's their 10th of the year. 4 passes defense puts them at 33. And they added 2 more interceptions, bringing their total to 8 with one touchdown. The Giants, meanwhile, had 43 tackles, 17 solo. Totals are 402 and 175. No sacks in this game by the New York defense. They stay at 19. They forced another fumble. That's their 14th. 3 passes defense gives them 42. And they still have the 2 INTs after not recording one on Sunday. Closing line was New York -3, and the over-under was 44. I did pick the Giants to win this game 27-21 and to cover the 3 points. They ended up losing this game by 13. So I lost both picks. So I'm now 3-2, both straight up and against the spread. Now to New Orleans, where two NFC teams continue the struggle, as the 3-6 defending Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams paid a visit to the Superdome to face the 3-7 New Orleans Saints. The Rams were ranked 19th in my Week 11 power rankings. The Saints were number 30. And it's the home team in this one that gets the job done as New Orleans wins 27-20. LA ran 58 offensive plays, 28 passes, 30 runs. New Orleans ran 52 plays, 28 passes, and 24 runs. Total yards a slight favorite to the champions. 336 for the Rams, 323 for the Saints. Passing yards favored New Orleans, 235, 188. And rush yards favored Los Angeles, 148 to 88. Yeah, that's a lot of eights, folks. Saints had 19 first downs. The Rams had 17. New Orleans, through 11 games, has 211 first downs. LA has 175. LA finished 5 of 14 on third down for 35.7%. For the year, they're 52 for 128. The Saints 4 for 11 on third downs, 36.4%, so slightly better than LA. For the season, 56 for 139. LA went 1 for 2 on fourth downs. They are now 8 for 11 in that category. They're one of the best fourth down offenses in the league. Saints did not attempt a fourth down play. They stay at 3 for 7. Los Angeles had 6 penalties for 55 yards, 42 total for 386. So they remain the least penalized team across the NFL through 11 weeks. The Saints had 2 penalties for 15 yards and 74 for 615. Oh, by the way, the Rams have 386 penalty yards with their 42 flags. Time of possession favored the home team. New Orleans, 31 minutes, 7 seconds. LA, 28 minutes, 53 seconds. Okay. On defense, the Rams, 36 tackles, 10 solo. Totals are 411 and 163. They had 4 sacks in this game, giving them 22 on the year. 0 forced fumbles, so they remain at 8. Only 1 pass defensed in the game. That's their 33rd. And they stay at 5 interceptions on the season. The Saints recorded 4 sacks as well, giving them 33. Plus, they had 40 tackles, 14 solo. Totals there are 462 and 216. New Orleans also failed to record a fumble in this game. They stay at 8 as well. They had 5 passes defense, however. That's 36. And they remain with 2 interceptions also, after not recording an interception or a defensive touchdown on Sunday. Closing line was New Orleans -2, and the over-under was 39.5. I picked the Saints 24-17. Well, at least I got... Well, not quite. Okay. I picked the Saints to win 24-17, and I picked them to cover the 2 points, which they did so, winning by a touchdown. And now at 3-7, the defending champions are literally on the ropes in terms of the NFC playoffs. The win by the Saints helps, but they too are in some sort of trouble as well. Okay. Probably what's being held by Mitch Milani of the Bottom Line View. By the way, go ahead and subscribe to his channel. He has some solid NFL content. Anyway, as described by Mitch Milani as the biggest blowout in modern, or the biggest, or rather not the biggest blowout, but the closest blowout, he said. The closest blowout in modern history. The New England Patriots played host to the New York Jets. New England came in with a 5-4 record and were ranked number 10 in my Week 11 power rankings. The Jets were 6-3, and they were ranked number 12. The game was tied at 3 with about 20 seconds or so left in the fourth quarter. And then the Patriots got an 84-yard punt return for a touchdown to win it 10-3. And you'll see why this is the closest blowout in modern NFL history after I read you these offensive numbers. The Jets ran 45 plays, 22 passes, 23 runs. Patriots ran 53 plays, 27 passes, 26 runs. Okay, total yards. 297 for the Patriots, 103. That's right, 103 for the New York Jets. The Patriots averaged 5.6 yards per play, while the Jets managed only 2.3 yards per play. Passing yards were 198-44 for the Patriots. New England averaged 7.3 yards per pass, the Jets 2 yards. And 99 rushing yards for the Patriots versus the Jets 59. New England averaged 3.8 yards per run, New York 2.6. Not a lot of first downs in this game, only 19 in total. 13 by the Patriots and 6. Yeah, that is not a typo. 6 first downs for the New York Jets. Both teams have 171 through 10 games. Both teams struggled mightily on third down. 3 of 14 for the Jets, 21.4%. They are now 45 for 139. And 4 of 15 for the Patriots, 26.7%, which really isn't that much better. On the season, they are now 49 for 131. New England had the only fourth down play in the game, which they failed to convert, so they are now 2 for 7 on fourth down. The Jets stay 7 of 13 on the year. New York had 3 penalties for 15 yards, 58 on the season for 512. 8 penalties, though, for the New England Patriots gives them, or 8 penalties for the New England Patriots for 55 yards, gives them 60 on the season for 473. The Patriots are in ball hawk territory as they possess the ball for 35 minutes and 30 seconds. Jets 24 minutes and 30 seconds. On defense, the Jets recorded 54 tackles, 37 solo. Totals are 438 and 207. The offense may have struggled, but their defense was working just fine. They would sack Mac Jones 6 times in this game. They now have 32 sacks on the season. No fumbles in the game for the Jet defense. They stay at 8. 2 passes defense puts them at 51. And they still have 11 interceptions and 1 defensive touchdown after recording neither on Sunday. The Patriots, 31 tackles, 7 solo. Their totals are now 406 and 155. They would sack Zach Wilson 4 times, which gives New England 35 sacks on the year. They, too, did not force a fumble in this game. They stay at 8. 3 passes defense puts them at 42. And they, too, have 11 interceptions still, with 2 defensive touchdowns after recording neither on Sunday. Closing line was New England minus 3 over under 38.5. I took the Patriots to win 27-20 and to cover. I am now 5-2 in both my straight up and ATS picks. If you're joining me late, this is the week that was, as I'm running down the statistical numbers for week number 11 in the NFL. Stick around to the end as I unveil my week 12 power rankings and update the league standings. Now back to our recap. The 8-1 Philadelphia Eagles, coming off their first loss of the season last Monday night against Washington, took to the road to face the Indianapolis Colts with a 4-5-1 record. The Eagles are number 2 in my Week 11 power rankings. The Colts were number 21. And this game was dominated by the Colts for the most part, but then a Jalen Hurts 7-yard touchdown run late in the fourth quarter sparked the Eagles to a 17-16 win to move their record to 9-1. The Eagles ran 50. Both teams, in fact, 58 offensive plays. The Eagles had 25 passes and 33 runs. The Colts had 32 passes and 26 runs. And again, both teams ran 58 plays. Philadelphia finished with 314 total yards of offense. Indianapolis 284. Passing yards were a slight advantage to the Colts, 185-173. Rushing yards favored the Eagles, 141-99. First downs were 18 for Philly, 14 for Indy. The Eagles finished 5 of 12 on third down for 41.7% for the season. They are now 60 for 129. The Colts were 5 of 15 on third down for 33.3%. They are now 55 for 149. Philly was 1 for 2 on fourth downs on the season, now 13 for 18. Indianapolis 0 for 1 on fourth down. They are now 2 for 10 on the year. That's 20%, and that is not good. Okay. A lot of penalties on both sides. The Eagles had 7 for 55 yards. This gives them 57 on the season for 454 yards. The Colts had 8 penalties for 90 yards. This gives them 59 for 502. Time of possession slightly favors the Colts, 30 minutes and 38 seconds versus 29 minutes and 22 seconds for Philadelphia. The Eagles, 44 tackles, and half of them, 22, were solo. Totals are 438 and 212. They would sack Matt Ryan 4 times, which gives them 32 sacks on the season. They forced another fumble, their 10th of the year. 2 passes defense puts them at 55. And they stay with an NFL leading 13 interceptions with 1 defensive touchdown. They are tied with Buffalo for the most interceptions in the NFL. The Indianapolis Colts had 43 tackles and 21 solo, so 1 fewer in both categories. Their respective totals are 495 and 246. They would sack Jalen Hurts 3 times. This gives them 28 sacks on the year. They would force 3 fumbles in this game, putting them at 9. And they also had 3 passes defensed. They're up to 36 now. So yeah, the 3s are wild here. No interceptions or touchdowns, so Indianapolis stays with 4 INTs. Closing line was Philadelphia minus 6.5 over under 45.5. Took the Eagles to win 28-17, and I took them to cover the point spread. I got the straight up pick right, but not the ATS pick. So now I'm 6-2 straight up, 5-3 against the spread. And in the final early game on the Sunday schedule was the Washington Commanders, the team that handed the Eagles their first loss, visiting the Houston Texans. Washington came in at 5-5 and ranked number 15 in my Week 11 power rankings. The Houston Texans, who came in with a 4-game losing streak and a 1-7-1 record, still sitting at number 32 in my power rankings, and looks like they're going to stay there another week as Washington hands Houston its 5th loss in a row, the longest current losing streak in the NFL, with a 23-10 setback. The Commanders had 67 plays, or they ran 67 plays, 27 passes, and 40 runs. And this after 50 runs against the Eagles a week ago. The Texans ran 49 plays, 33 passes, and 16 runs. All right. So Washington outgains Houston by nearly 200 yards in this game, 344 to 148. Passing yards for 191 for the Commanders, 127 for the Texans. Rush yards 153 for the Commanders, and only 21 for the Houston Texans. So you thought the Jets' 59 rushing yards were bad. Houston's 21 is worse. And they only ran at 1.3 yards per pop, which is not good. First downs were 20 for the Commanders and 11 for the Texans. This gives Washington 220 first downs. Houston has 167. Oh, by the way, I didn't mention the total first downs in the Eagles-Colts game. Philly now has 224 through 10. Indy has 204 through 11. Back to the Texans and Commanders. Washington was 3 of 13 on third downs for 23.1%. For the year, 55 for 151. Houston, 2 of 13 on third downs, 15.4%. For the season, 37 for 126. Both teams were dead solid perfect on fourth downs. 2 for 2 for the Commanders, 4 for 4 for the Texans. Washington is now 7 of 14 on fourth downs this season. Houston is 9 for 14. The Commanders had 5 penalties for 36 yards. Now has 62 total for 5-9. The Texans have 2 penalties for 15 yards, and on the year, 52 for only 393. So as far as penalty yards, Houston has one of the lowest penalty yard totals in the NFL, which is very good, if you ask me. Time of possession was 34 minutes, 56 seconds for the Commanders. They were this close getting into ball hawk territory. Texans 25 minutes and 4 seconds. Washington's defense records 33 tackles, 16 solo. Totals are 413 and 181. Listen to this. They sacked Davis Mills in this game 5 times. This gives them 28 sacks on the season. No fumbles. They stay at 5. 4 passes defense, 46 now on the year. 2 interceptions and a touchdown. So now they have 6 interceptions and a touchdown. So that means they had a pick 6 in this game. And the Texans defense, 46 tackles, 16 solo. Totals are 485 and 235. No sacks for the Texans defense, so they stay at 23. Yeah, their defense did nothing. No sacks in the game, no forced fumbles, no passes defense, no interceptions or touchdowns. So their sack total stays at 23. Forced fumbles stay at 6. Passes defense stays at 34. And their interception count remains at 7. Closing line in this game was Washington -3, and the over-under was 41. I picked the Commanders, or the Commies, as Mitch Maloney of BLV would say, 23-16. And I picked the Commies to cover the 3 points. Washington wins by 13, so I win both picks. I'm now 7-2 straight up, 6-3 against the spread. Now to the late games, starting off with the Las Vegas Raiders. Entering with a 2-7 record, taking on the 3-6 Denver Broncos, both struggling at the bottom of the AFC West. And both ranked close to each other in my Week 11 power rankings. The Raiders were number 24, the Broncos were number 25. And you can pretty much say some questionable play calling from Nathaniel Hackett is what caused the Broncos to lose this game, as Vegas wins it 22-16 in overtime. All right, 61 offensive plays for the Raiders, 37 passes, 24 runs. 59 plays for the Broncos, 31 passes, and 28 runs. Vegas outgained Denver 407-320. Through the air, they outgained the Broncos 298-226. And on the ground, they outgained the Broncos slightly, 109-94. First downs were 20 for Las Vegas, 19 for Denver. On the season, 197 through 10 games for the Raiders, 173 for the Broncos. Both teams struggled on third downs. 3 of 11 for Vegas, 27.3%. On the season, they are now 44 for 119. And the Broncos were 3 of 12 for 25%. They are now 40 for 142. And there were no fourth down plays by either team, so the Raiders stay at 10 for 17, and the Broncos remain 8 for 15, both over 50% on fourth down. Vegas had 9 penalties for 98 yards. This gives them 69 for 587. 5 penalties for the Broncos for 45 yards gives them a league-leading 83 penalties for 696 yards, which also leads the league. Okay, on defense, the Raiders, 42 tackles, 16 solo. Totals are 429 and 166. They had 3 sacks on Russell Wilson. This gives them 13, which is still the lowest sack total in the NFL. They had 2 fumbles forced in this game, numbers 6 and 7. No passes defense, they stay at 27, and that looks like it's also the lowest total in the NFL. It is. And no interceptions or touchdowns for the season. They have 3 and 2. For the Broncos, 40 tackles, 12 solo. Totals are 425 and 174. They added another sack this week, giving them 25. No fumbles forced on the year, or no fumbles forced in this game. They have 13 forced fumbles on the year. For passes defense in this game, 45 total in 2022, and they're still at 5 interceptions. The closing line was Denver minus 2.5, and the over-under was 41. Sorry. I took the Broncos to win 20-14 and to cover the 2.5 points. I lost both picks. So now I'm 7-3 straight up, 6-4 against the spread. Yeah, this spread is very, very cruel to me, if you ask me. Our next game is an AFC North Division battle, a rematch from Week 1, as the Cincinnati Bengals look to exact revenge on the Pittsburgh Steelers as the two met at Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh. Of course, the last time the Bengals played the Steelers, Joe Burrow had a nightmare of a game. 5 turnovers, including 4 interceptions. Anyway, back to the rematch. The Bengals came in ranked number 11 in my Week 11 power rankings. The Steelers were number 26. And this was a good old-fashioned AFC North shootout, which the Bengals would win 37-30. Cincinnati had 63 offensive plays, 39 passes, and 24 runs. Pittsburgh at 66 plays, 42 passes, and 24 runs. So both teams ran the ball 24 times. All right. Total yards for 408 for the Bengals, 351 for the Steelers. Passing yards, Bengals 346, Steelers 249. And rush yards, Steelers 102, Bengals 62. Cincinnati finished with 22 first downs and 224 for the season thus far. 17 first downs for the Steelers gives them 192. Cincy was 3 of 9 on third downs for 33.3%. They're sitting at 50% now on the season, 59 for 118. Steelers 8 for 17 on third downs, 47.1%. Good figure. 53 of 139 for the year. The Steelers had the lone fourth down play in this game. They did not convert, so they're now 9 for 13 on the year, which knocks them below 70% on fourth down. The Bengals remain 2 for 9. Cincinnati had 6 penalties for 44 yards, giving them 47 for 318. All right, if you're looking at number of penalties through 11 games, the Cincinnati Bengals are the third least penalized team in the NFL behind the Rams and Falcons. Yes, in terms of number of flags. 47 for 318 yards. Oh, and the 318 yards are also the fewest penalty yards by any team in the NFL through 11 weeks. The Steelers had 8 penalties for 70 yards. They now have 62 flags for 468. Time of possessions, 31 minutes and 36 seconds for the Bengals, 28 minutes, 24 seconds for the Steelers. The Bengals defense, 46 tackles, 16 solo. Totals are now 404, 172. 2 sacks on the day, gives them 19 on the season. No fumbles, keeps them at 7. 3 passes defense, gives them 38. And no touchdowns or interceptions by the defense, so they stay at 8 interceptions. Steelers defense, 38 tackles, 7 solo. Totals are 425 and 184. They also had 2 sacks in this game, which puts them at 19, matching them with the Bengals. No fumbles in this game. They stay at 12. 8 passes defense gives them 56. And 2 more interceptions puts them at 12 on the year with 1 defensive touchdown. Closing line in this game was Cincinnati minus 3.5, and the over-under was 39.5. I picked the Bengals 24-21, but I picked Pittsburgh to cover the 4 points or the 3.5 points at close. They ended up losing by 7, so Cincinnati wins both straight up and against the spread. So straight up, I'm now 8-3, ATS 6-5. Now to the blowout of the week, and I literally mean the blowout of the week. The Dallas Cowboys ranked number 6 in my Week 11 power rankings. Paid a visit to the Twin Cities to face the Minnesota Vikings, ranked number 3, and fresh off of that monumental win in Buffalo last week. Well, there was a bit of a letdown. Okay, there was quite the letdown for the Minnesota Vikings as they got trampled by Dak Prescott and them boys, 40-3. Dallas ran 70 offensive plays, 30 passes, 40 runs. To Minnesota's 47 offensive plays, 30 passes, and 17 runs. So in this game, both teams threw the ball 30 times. Dallas outgained Minnesota 458-183. Passing yards, they outgained them 307-110. Rush yards, Dallas outgained Minnesota 151-73. First downs were 23 for the Cowboys, 16 for the Vikings. That's 192 first downs in 10 games for Dallas, 214 for Minnesota. The Cowboys, solid on third down conversions, 12 for 17, 70.6%. They are now 64 for 130, as they are very, very close to that 50% threshold. They're at 49.2. Minnesota flat out sucked on third down. And I'm just saying it. 1 for 11, 9.1%. Yow. They are now 52 for 132 on this season. No fourth down plays for either team, so Dallas stays at 6 of 11. Minnesota 8 for 15. The Cowboys had 6 penalties for 39 yards, gives them 70 for 540 through 11 weeks. Vikings 7 penalties, 59 yards, puts them at 55 for 436. And the Dallas Cowboys are crowned my Week 11 Ball Hogs of the Week, as they possessed the ball for 37 minutes and 24 seconds, longer than any team across the league. Vikings only 22 minutes, 36 seconds time of possession. All right, the Dallas defense, 38 tackles, 28 solo. Totals are 454, I think that is, and 253. They would sack Kirk Cousins 7 times. Count them, 7 times. They extend their NFL leading sack total to 42. All right, 2 more fumbles for the Cowboy defense puts them at 13. 4 passes defense moves that total to 32. They're still at 6 interceptions and 1 touchdown after not recording neither on Sunday. The Vikings defense, 57 tackles, the most of any team in Week 11 in the NFL this week, and 40 solo tackles, which I think is also the most of any team in the NFL. Yes. Totals are 456 and 284. No sacks by this Viking defense. They now have 26 on the season. No fumbles forced. They stay at 7. 1 pass defense puts them at 52. And they still have 10 interceptions. They didn't record 1 this week. Closing line, Dallas -2. Over under 48.5. I took the Vikings to win 31-27, and I picked them to cover the 2 points. I just did not expect Minnesota to just be blown out in front of their home fans like they were on Sunday. That's the NFL for you. That's why they play the game. All right, so I lost both those picks. I'm now 8-4 straight up and 6-6 against the point spread. And that brings us to Sunday Night Football. And for the second week in a row, the Los Angeles Chargers are featured on Sunday Night Football. This time at home at SoFi Stadium against Patrick Mahomes and the AFC West rival Kansas City Chiefs. And this is once again another one of those games you'd expect from these two teams. The Chiefs got a late touchdown and they win 30-27. And how about this? The Kansas City Chiefs, 300 points now. They're the first team in the NFL to 300 points. All right. Both teams ran up the same amount of plays, just about 61 offensive plays for the Chiefs, 34 passes, 27 runs, 60 plays for the Chargers, 30 passes and 30 runs. So it's split evenly with the amount of plays, pass and run. What's not split is the total yards. 485 for the Chiefs, 365 for the Chargers. All right, passing yards favored KC, 322-250, as did the rushing yards, 163, and I think that's a season high in rushing yards for the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chargers had only 115. First downs are a slight advantage to the Chiefs, 23-22. All right, Kansas City finished 5 of 10 on third down, 50%. They were now 61 for 118. Chargers, 57.1% on third down, 8 for 14. No fourth down plays by either team. Chiefs stay 6 for 8. Chargers stay 8 for 19. Both teams had 4 penalties in the game. Kansas City had 54 yards on their 4 flags. The LA Chargers had 25 yards on their 4 flags. Both have 51 total penalties on the season. 493 penalty yards for the Chiefs, 412 for the Chargers. Time of possession favored LA, 32 minutes, 19 seconds to 27 minutes and 41 seconds for the Chiefs. The Chiefs defense, 52 tackles, 30 solo, 430 and 185 their respective totals. They would sack Justin Herbert 5 times in this game, putting them at 32. 1 forced fumble in the game, that's their 8th of the season. 5 passes defense puts them at 46. They had another interception, just their 4th of the season with 1 touchdown. The Chargers defense had 40 tackles, 21 solo. Totals are 426 and 205. 1 sack on Patrick Mahomes gives them 21 on the season. They forced 2 fumbles in this game, numbers 8 and 9. 1 pass defense puts them at 30. And they're still at 7 interceptions after not recording one on Sunday nights. Closing line was Kansas City minus 4.5, and the over-under was 52.5. Took the Chiefs to win 28-24. And I had the Chargers covering at minus 4.5. In fact, that is a win, since Kansas City only won by 3 and the spread was 4.5 at close. So yeah, that's a win. So now I'm 9-4 straight up and 7-6 against the spread. And finally, Monday Night Football taking us south of the border to Estadio Azteca in Mexico City, as the San Francisco 49ers battled the Arizona Cardinals. Now, this was a designated home game for Arizona, with the Niners as the visitors. Oh, by the way, the Chiefs in my Week 11 power rankings were number 1 and the Chargers were number 16. In this game, the 49ers were ranked number 4, the Arizona Cardinals number 22. Game looked close for a little bit, but the Niners would just run away with things. Jimmy Garoppolo would throw 4 touchdown passes in this game, matching his career high, as the Niners win this one going away, and I do mean going away. 38-10 was the final. All right, 57 offensive plays for the Niners, 29 passes, 28 runs. 68 total plays for Arizona, 44 passes and 24 runs. The Niners had 387 yards of offense, the Cardinals 314. Passing yards favored the Cardinals, 247 to 228. Rushing yards, huge advantage to San Francisco, 159-67. The Niners had 21 first downs. This gives them 2-1 through 10 games. Cardinals had 19 first downs, putting them at 225 through 11. Both teams were pretty good on third down conversions. 6 of 11 for San Francisco, 54.5%. On the year, 58 of 125. 8 for 16 and 50% for Arizona. Puts them 56 of 154 for the year. The Cardinals had 2 fourth down attempts, missed on both. So they are now 16 for 31. They're barely above 50% on fourth down conversions, while the Niners remain 3 for 8. San Francisco had 3 penalties for 30 yards, 59 total for 440. Arizona, 5 penalties for 50 yards. This puts them at 80 flags for 635. Time of possession surprisingly favored Arizona. 30 minutes and 51 seconds for the Cardinals, 29 minutes and 9 seconds for the San Francisco 49ers. Their defense recorded 51 tackles, 39 total, or 39 solo, I should say. 417 and 203, their respective totals. They sacked Colt McCoy 3 times. Yes, Colt McCoy was in for the second straight week for an injured Kyler Murray. So now the Niners have 33 sacks on the season. They forced another fumble this year. That's their 7th. 6 passes defense puts them at 44. And they had 2 interceptions, which moves them to 9 with 2 defensive touchdowns. The Arizona Cardinals had 38 tackles, 16 solo. Totals are 479 and 242. 0 sacks on Jimmy G in this game. They stay at 19. No fumbles forced in this game either. They stay at 10. 4 passes defense puts them at 50. And they remain at 7 interceptions and an NFL leading 5 defensive touchdowns. They did not record any on Monday night. Closing line was San Francisco minus 9.5 over under 43. Picked the Niners to win 27-20, but I took the Cards to cover the 9.5 points, but they got smoked, losing by 4 touchdowns. So I won the straight up pick, but lost the against the spread pick. Anyway, my straight up record for this week is 10-4, and my ATS record is 7-7. Okay, that's the review. Now let's turn our attention to the updated standings in the NFL, and we'll start as always in the AFC North, where the Baltimore Ravens sit atop the division at 7-3. Then it's the Cincinnati Bengals at 6-4 in second place. The Cleveland Browns and Pittsburgh Steelers are tied in the basement of the North, both 3-7. Meanwhile, the race in the AFC East has gotten tighter. The Miami Dolphins and Buffalo Bills are tied for the division lead at 7-3. The edge right now would go to Miami based on their head-to-head win over Buffalo. And then the Patriots and Jets are just a game back at 6-4. New England, of course, beating the New York Jets for the second time in 4 weeks. So now they own that tiebreaker. As for win streaks, Miami has won 4 straight. New England has won 3 straight. The Tennessee Titans continue to lead the AFC South with a 7-3 record. In a distant second, sit the Indianapolis Colts at 4-6-1. Then it's the Jacksonville Jaguars at 3-7 and the Houston Texans at 1-8-1. The Kansas City Chiefs have opened up a big lead. West, they're at 8-2. Followed by the Los Angeles Chargers, now 5-5 after back-to-back losses. Meanwhile, the Las Vegas Raiders and Denver Broncos are tied in the basement at 3-7, with Denver losing their last 2. Over in the NFC, despite the loss, the Minnesota Vikings still has a pretty big lead in the NFC North with an 8-2 record. And then the all of a sudden red-hot Detroit Lions, winners of 3 straight, Colton to second place with a 4-6 record, jumping ahead of the Green Bay Packers at 4-7, and at the bottom the Chicago Bears at 3-8. The Philadelphia Eagles continue to lead the NFC East at 9-1, with both the Dallas Cowboys and New York Giants sitting 7-3, and those two teams will play on Thanksgiving Day in Dallas. That's Thursday, by the way. The Washington Commanders still sitting in last place, but now with a winning record at 6-5 after back-to-back wins. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are off this week, along with the Jaguars, Dolphins, and Seahawks, have a slim lead in the NFC South at 5-5. The Atlanta Falcons fall to within a half game at 5-6. The New Orleans Saints sit 4-7, and the Carolina Panthers are 3-8. And in the NFC West, we got a tie at the top of this division with both the San Francisco 49ers and Seattle Seahawks, both 6-4. San Francisco would own the head-to-head tiebreaker as of right now. The Arizona Cardinals' playoff chances took a big hit Monday night. They dropped to 4-7. And speaking of playoff chances taking big hits, the defending Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams, sitting last place in the West with a 3-7 record, they have dropped 4 straight games. And as we finish things up here on the week that was, let's take a look at my Week 12 power rankings. And we'll start from the bottom and work our way to the top. No changes with our bottom two, with the Houston Texans staying at number 32 and the Chicago Bears at number 31. The Carolina Panthers are at number 30, down from 29. The Cleveland Browns are this week's number 29. They're down from 27. Number 28 is the New Orleans Saints, up from 30. Number 27 is the Denver Broncos, down from 25. Biggest drop in my power rankings is the Los Angeles Rams at number 26, down from 19. The Jacksonville Jaguars, despite not playing, sits at number 25, up from 28. The Arizona Cardinals are 24, down from 22. Number 23 is the Pittsburgh Steelers, up from 26, despite losing. Number 22 is the Las Vegas Raiders, up from 24. The Indianapolis Colts at number 21, same spot as last week. Green Bay Packers at number 20, down from 18. Then it's the Detroit Lions at number 19, up from 23. Number 18, the LA Chargers, down from 16. Number 17 is the Atlanta Falcons, up from 20. Number 16, the New York Jets, down from 12. 15 is the Seattle Seahawks, up from 17. 14 is the Washington Commanders, up from 15. 13 is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, up from 14. Number 12 is the Tennessee Titans, up from 13. Number 11 is the New York Giants, down from 7. Number 10 is the Cincinnati Bengals, up from 11. Number 9, the New England Patriots, down or rather up from 10. Number 8 is the Baltimore Ravens, same spot as last week. In fact, they've been number 8 for a while. Number 7 is the Minnesota Vikings, down from 3. Number 6 is the Miami Dolphins, up from 9. Number 5 is the Buffalo Bills, same spot as last week. Number 4 is the Dallas Cowboys, up from 6. Number 3 is the San Francisco 49ers, up from 4. And the top 2 remain the same, with the Philadelphia Eagles at number 2 and the Kansas City Chiefs at number 1. And that, my friends, is the Week 11 edition of the week that was in the National Football League. Okay. I will be back later today with the football rankings, the AP and coaches poll. I'll probably do a separate video there, and then unveil the college football playoff rankings live. So I'll probably go live tonight at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. So join me for that. Plus, also coming up later, I'll look at the Week 13 college football television schedule and the announcers for each game. Those 2 videos are dropping, or should I say 3 videos now will be dropping today. So join me for all of those. In the meantime, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell and get notified every time I go live. Big Al signing off. Thanks for watching and enjoy the pigskin. Peace out.